Have you been looking at buying a BMW 6 Series recently? Well, you made a great choice. The BMW 6 Series was the most expensive BMW at the time, from 2012 to 2018, until it was replaced by the BMW 8 Series. After owning a 6 Series for 5 years, today I'm here to give you guys a breakdown of every single 6 Series and M6 that you guys can get, all the body styles, all the engines, etc. So let's get into it. So the 6 Series was offered in 3 body styles: the coupe, the sedan, and convertible. Each one of these cars has a chassis code. The chassis code designation for the sedan is F06, for the convertible is F12, and for the coupe is F13. This car is basically a better looking, more luxurious BMW F10 that weighs about 700 pounds more. So let's talk about what engines and transmission options come with the car. We'll start with the gasoline powered ones first. The first one is the 640, the one that I own, and I have a bunch of videos of it on my channel. That car is powered by a N55 inline 6-cylinder 3.0 engine paired to a ZF 8-speed transmission, and it's also offered in all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. The next one, or the next tier up, is the 650i. This has a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 paired to a ZF 8-speed transmission. Again, also in all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. And then the big dog, the BMW M6, also has a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8, but it's rear-wheel drive only, paired to BMW's DCT, or dual clutch transmission. And then as far as the diesel options, we have the 640 diesel 3.0 diesel engine, ZF 8-speed as well, and it's also available in rear wheel and all-wheel drive. So starting off, we have the least powerful but the most reliable BMW, the 640. Powered by an inline 6-cylinder engine, this car makes 315 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque from the factory. To be 100% honest with you guys, this car does feel slightly underpowered from the factory, but a few simple and cheap modifications and a tune can definitely take care of that. The reason why I say the 640 is the most reliable is because you don't see them in auctions and stuff as much totaled out due to mechanical damage, but these cars do require a decent amount of maintenance. I'll get into the maintenance aspect now, and pretty much for the most part the maintenance is the same for the 640, 650, and M6, like the basics, I guess. But the 650 and M6 will have a couple more things that you have to get into, but this is pretty much the basics. So to start things off, I do an oil change every 4,000 to 6,000 miles. The weight of oil that I use is 5W40, the brand Liqui Moly. Depending if you have a 650 or M6, your oil weight could be different. This is for my 640. You guys should do spark plugs every 50,000 miles, less if you're tuned. Ignition coils, I want to say around that same interval as well. I service the transmission, the front diff, the rear diff, and the transfer case every 50,000 miles, as well as the brake fluid every 2 to 3 years. So some of the problems you could run into with this car is the water pump and thermostat failure, which is a pretty widespread problem across all BMWs. Even the new ones like the B58 still have that issue. Following up with the water pump and thermostat, the coolant lines tend to go bad around this same time. So once you tackle the water pump and the thermostat, I recommend you guys do that at the same time as well. Another thing you guys are going to want to do at like 80 to 100,000 miles is the belt tensioner. Those tend to go out, as well as the drive belt, so I recommend you guys do that all. Another thing that tends to go specifically on the 640i is the charge pipe. The factory charge pipe is plastic, and after it holds all those boost cycles over and over again, it tends to crack, and then if you tune the car with that plastic charge pipe, it'll more than likely break. So you guys can get a metal upgrade charge pipe. So another issue that the 640 has, that also the 650 and the M6 has, is oil leaks can be an issue from the valve cover gasket, the oil pan gasket, and the oil filter housing gasket. And the last thing that's 640 specific, but it's less common on 640s than it is on 650s and M6s, is rod bearings. Sometimes on really high mileage N55s, depending on how the previous owner treated the car, rod bearings can be an issue. So moving on up into the 8-cylinder BMWs, we have the 650i, the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8, big brother to the 640. This car came equipped with the N63 engine, and in later models 2014 and on, it came with the N63 TU engine. This engine has the hot V design where the turbos sit in the middle of the engine right on top. From the factory, these cars come with 444 horsepower and 479 feet of torque. But with just a downpipe and a tune, these cars can make upwards of 600 horsepower and 600 torque. Kind of crazy. And the cool thing about the 650s is they come in all-wheel drive as well as rear-wheel drive, so they have no problems putting that 600 horsepower to the ground. And the crazy thing is this car is priced cheaper than the 640. The reason for that though is it's known for having nightmare reliability issues. Not only the 6 Series, but all N63 powered cars in general suffer from excess oil consumption issues, timing chain issues, high pressure fuel pump issues, injector failure, and the list goes on. But a lot of these issues were resolved in the 2014 and up models with the N63 TU engine. So if you do want to go for a 650i, I definitely recommend you get a 2014 and up car. Also, the 2014 and up N63 cars have a forged rod, forged crank, upgraded injectors, and they sorted out most of the issues, but those cars can still have valve stem seal failure as well as head gasket issues. A lot of these issues, if you don't catch them early enough, can end up grenading the engine, and these N63 engines are not cheap. They go for 5 to 9K I've seen on eBay, and that's without any labor. And lastly, we have the big daddy of them all, the BMW M6, the car that's on the posters in my kitchen. So the M6 makes an insane 560 horsepower from the factory and 500 torque. And this 560 is jumped up to 600 horsepower if you guys option the competition package on this car. It's then paired to BMW's 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and this was BMW's most powerful and expensive M car back in its day. Just like the 650, this car makes some insane power with just a downpipe and a tune. You're looking at close to 800 horsepower and almost 750 pound-feet of torque. This car will keep up with and beat supercars for a fraction of the price, while you can have 3 passengers comfortably and room for their luggage. The only downside to this car that I can see is they aren't as reliable as the F8X series M cars, and you could tell by the way that they've depreciated. In today's market, a M6 can be found for like 35K for a decent example, when it was a $120,000 car new, whereas a M3 or M4 was like a $70,000 car new, and they're about 35 grand used as well now. The main reason for that is because of its reliability concerns. Rod bearing failure is the main reason why I've seen S63 engines fail. If you guys want to get a better idea of someone who's experienced this firsthand, there's this great channel called MTR Kings, and Gabriel, his M6 actually suffered rod bearing failure, and he goes through like the process of him like rebuilding it, documenting it, a lot of great information. So if you're an M6 owner or a future M6 owner, I recommend you check out his channel. Another issue is valve stem seals like the N63, but it's a lot less common on the S63, I must say. The earlier year models, the oil pump and the injectors had some issues, but these were revised in 2015 and later cars. I really think the health of these S63 engines depended on how the previous owner treated the car before you. I feel like people saw the rod bearing issues with the V10s, and then when the F10 came out, they thought, oh, we don't have to warm up the car anymore. It's all sorted with the new V8 engine. And it come to find out, 5-10 years later, you still have to let the car warm up. So if you guys even have a new M car, S58, it doesn't even matter. I would still say let the car warm up before you beat on it. I've also seen some people have great experience with this car. One example of this is a channel called Ethan York. He bought an M6 Grand Coupe, I think with like 60 or 70,000 miles on it. And he's only had a couple minor issues with the car. So it's really hit or miss and depends on how the previous owner treated it. Because a lot of the first owners of these cars just leased them, beat on it. If there was any issues, they just took it back to the dealer, and none of the issues showed until the car ages past 60,000 miles. And lastly, we have the 640D. This is a diesel engine 3.0, and it has the N57 diesel engine. These cars are known for having timing chain issues at around 90 to 100,000 miles, and it's an engine out service. So I'm not even sure if the diesel engine is available in America. I've only seen people in the UK and like the 6 Series forums with these cars, so I don't know too much, so we're not going to speak too much about it. But from what I know about that engine in the F15 X5, it is really torquey, makes a lot of torque low down, and with a delete and tune, it can make a decent amount of power, like 400 horsepower, but like 600 torque because it's a diesel. And you still get the gas mileage from the diesel. But then again, you have to but you have to worry about the timing chain if you get a higher mileage example, or as the car ages in miles. Honestly, I feel like the 6 Series is a great bargain and a lot of car for what you're getting for the money. But keep in mind that you need to plan and prepare for things to go wrong. Preventative maintenance is key. And remember guys, it's not a Toyota or a Honda. But if you're the type of person that looks at cars as more than just a mode of transportation, this is definitely the car for you. This car will give you the ultimate luxury / sporty driving experience.